Yes, sir.
Good to have you
The
on
special
here.
guest, you're looking very furry tonight, fuzzy foxish.
Yeah, very furry. Yeah, I grow a beard during winter a little bit, and yeah, it hasn't sort of warmed up enough to a point that I feel like shaving it off. So
Oh,
No,
well,
long winter.
yes,
apparently in Brent's house it must be winter all the time because he never shaves it off.
yeah,
No,
that's right.
forever.
He's trying to cover whatever he's hiding underneath it. Is there.
Mm. You look like you had a shave too, Daz, mate. You're all sparkly again.
Mate, I come close. I found the razor and then just went, just later. So
Mm.
I did have a shower. I do need a haircut. I desperately need a haircut. Wife tried to send me this
At the
morning.
start, you did
Yeah,
stink earlier. I didn't want to say anything, but it was coming through my microphone. It was putrid.
I know. You should have been sitting on the other side of it. It's like wallowing in it. So, but,
Very good.
yeah.
Actually, I might we could get a couple of shares going. Daz, have you shared it out into any groups yet?
Mate, because I have the Facebook pages open, ready to share some videos for you, or a video for you.
I'll do it from here then. We'll
Do
get
that.
it going. We might start with who we got tonight, Mister. Tell us your name, Mister Sinclair.
Yep, and tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. So, my name's Andy. Yeah, I'm the owner of Fuzzy Fox. We used to be called Reptiles and Rodents, and I still can't seem to shake that. But we've sort of changed our slogan to all naturally smarter pet foods. And we were a commercial rodent breeder for over 8 years, and I'd been breeding rodents for far longer than that. But I just had enough, and we have, been developing some new products that I think many people have probably seen now, and gosh, lots of people have certainly been purchasing. And I decided to sort of, go down that route and continue to expand that range and whatnot. So that's sort of what I'm doing these days. Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
And you've been keeping for quite a long time too, haven't you, Andy? Like I don't think a lot of people realise how long you've actually been keeping for.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been keeping reptiles for 20 years. I moved here in my teens from New Zealand. Was blown away by a blue tongue that I saw in the garden once. I was like, what the fuck is this massive thing? Because we got nothing like that in New Zealand. And within about 3 months of being here, I'd got myself a reptile license and bought myself my first snake, and the rest is history. I've never been without a reptile in my care since.
Yeah. God, bloody Kiwis are everywhere.
Yeah, I don't really. I'll be honest. I actually don't even think of myself as a Kiwi anymore. I've lived here that long, and the old man's actually an Aussie. So yeah, I do sort of. I call this home now.
The true answer to that will be, like obviously my wife's from New Zealand and she still follows the All Blacks. So that tells me as much as she calls herself an Australian,
yes,
it's not true entirely. She's still got that
until
Kiwi
you're fully converted.
So unless you follow Australia, whether it be in the union or the league, whatever it is,
I'm not.
You go, I'm following the All Blacks, and mate, you're still a Kiwi.
No, I don't really follow rugby, but when it, like I've been a surfer most of my life, so I actually do support the Aussie surfers more than anything. I love watching the Aussies take out the Brazilians and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, well, there we go. So we got Jug from Malera, mate. Thanks for dropping in, mate. I've got your message. I haven't had a chance to look at it because I've been slack, but I will do, and I'll get back to you, buddy. Sorry for being useless, a bit like that lately. Nick in the house, Daniel Boswell. Hey, Daniel. David Avery, Mr. Muzz Williams in the house. Emily Greer. Welcome, guys. Thanks for dropping in. So, Andy, now Brent's got a few questions for Andy. Andy is making a new product, Australian-made product. It's insectivore mix, omnivore mix. Jeez, talk about tongue tying myself. It's only early days too.
I better change the name.
Spit it, mate. Spit it out.
Mix.
So let's go back to the start of Mr. Sinclair before Fuzzy Fox. You said about 20 years ago. What was the first reptile you ever owned?
Morelia breadlie.
Really?
Yep. And what do you focus more on these days? What are you keeping?
I mostly focus on Antaresia and Varanus. So I absolutely love the Varanus odatria subgenus, which is basically all small monitors. And Australia's got like one of the largest, well, actually almost all of them. There are a few in Timor and New Guinea, but the vast majority of the odatria complex lives here in Australia, which is just fantastic. So I find monitors, especially the Varanus monitors, because they're quite a newish genus, from evolutionary speaking, and I just absolutely love seeing how quickly they were able to adapt and evolve to fill all the environmental niches within Australia. So I find Varanids incredibly fascinating. Yeah.
I think when you taught anybody that's had Varanids, it's kept monitors, whether they be Barichis, Acanthurus, or lace monitors, various or whatever.
Yep.
Anybody that's owned monitors realised they're just a thing of their own. They're such an awesome creature.
They are.
I really miss having them. I would love to have them again.
Super smart.
Highly intelligent. Yeah, that's incredible. Right. They're just incredible in that respect. And I mean, like, often people think of intelligence, or they probably confuse it with emotional complexity. I mean, they're still a reptile, so they've still got a very primitive brain. But yes, you can combine that. You can still have intelligence in a reptile. Monitors are able to count. They're able to problem solve. They're able to think ahead. Very few other reptiles have that. So they're so rewarding to keep. They really are. Absolutely love them.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're more into like morph sort of stuff, or wild type, man? Are you one of the purists out there, or you do mix it up a bit?
Yeah, I mean, So I mean, I was a purist. Yeah, I was. I used to hate morphs, actually, and then this is probably going back about 12 years ago, and then I sort of realized that I probably hated it because I didn't understand it, if I'm being honest, and then I got my first albino carpet python and started to figure out genetics, and was pretty hooked from there on through. So I used to keep a lot of carpets. I've downsized that a lot now. I've still got a few. I mean, I used to have probably used to have around 30 or 40 breeders. Still probably nothing compared to you two, but for most people in Australia, that was still quite a few. And yeah, I don't know. I still like morphs. I still keep a few, but I've definitely downsized the carpet side a lot. Still keep quite a few Antaresia. Still got both locality specific animals as well as morphs in the Antaresia. And then there aren't really any morphs in the Varanids. You've got the kings, which there is a leucistic form, but I think there might be some people in Australia with it now. It's probably been smuggled in, but it's not common in the hobby yet. Common, so yeah.
So anything particular you're working on now within morph sort of projects in ants or in carpets?
Well, with the carpets, I did get a clutch of eggs this year that could potentially produce a snow zebra, so it'll be pretty cool if that pops out. I've got hetaxanthic granite stuff there that hopefully I should get another clutch from that girl this year, and we'll see what pops out of that. But no, nothing too cutting edge, I suppose, in the carpet morphs. In the Antaresia, I keep a lot of the very standard morphs, and again, I'm probably not leading the charge with that. I don't really feel the need to. I'm not really interested in being the first to produce stuff. I just love producing interesting things for myself most of the time, and I quite often stay a bit low key about most of what I'm sort of working on anyway. I just I say, I enjoy it. It's pleasurable for myself, so I just go ahead and do my thing.
I think that's a key thing too with breeding, Andy. Doing what you enjoy. It doesn't matter about producing, the bleeding edge type stuff.
Yeah.
As you said, I still have locale specific Antaresia here, locale, pure lines of wild type stuff here.
Yes.
Pure jungles and Murrays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just because I enjoy them. I don't care what anyone else thinks. Whether you know what I mean? Like, I enjoy the mutations. I like locale stuff. I like pure stuff. I do what I like. And I think if you have a passion for keeping reptiles, then you need to follow your passion, not be guided by what everybody else does. Work with what you enjoy. Like, I've kept geckos, and I've bred geckos, amii and Castlenowies and other things, and I like geckos, but they're not for me. I just never enjoyed actually keeping them, even though I had some success with them, and I sold them all on. But it's part of a learning curve. Find what you like, work with it, and do what you enjoy, because that's what keeps you motivated.
Yeah, and if you don't, you'll end up burning out, or you'll end up hating it, or whatever. Like, I kept a few other things like you, Daz, that I just never enjoyed, and I thought, what's the point? Let's just get rid of them and just stay focused on the stuff I do enjoy. So because
at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy it, you're less tempted to want to deal with it.
That's right, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and then of course the animal suffers too, which we don't want. So, yeah.
Yep. So a few more
You look
people.
at-
Michelle
you-
Rommel will say hello. Adam Andrews, Peter Staton, Emma Dixon is in the house. Hey Emma, Mr. Sunky is in the house. Hey guys.
They're all rolling in. So you
Get a
look a
quick
bit
shout out
like
while we're
a gecko sometimes does. So I don't know why you need to keep geckos. Just
Really? I often get called a fat pig or a bullfrog. Or...
yeah, you're small and
Really
cute. That's
something-
what geckos are, aren't
I was going to say it's rarely anything to do with cute.
they? But it's right though, Shaggy. You say there's, being first with anything, there's no prize for it, and really no one gives a shit, and you're forgotten very quickly. You can be the first at something, fantastic. 2 years later, people just wouldn't even know. There's always something new coming along. So being first doesn't really matter. So, is there any particular morphs that you would like to work with that you don't have yet?
No, I have pretty much every morph, as far as I know, in my collection. Like I say, I probably don't have all the combinations that people, sort of expect. But like I say, I'm happy just to take my time and sort of, do them at my pace. So, yeah.
Yeah, yep, do your own thing. What other animals do you own outside of reptiles?
Oh, got a French bulldog and got a cat. Yeah.
One of each. Wow, you can't. Yeah. That's sort of a bit each way there, Andy.
Yeah.
I don't know many people who've managed to pull off dog and cat at the same time. It's tough going.
Yeah. I don't know. The cat. I've thought about getting rid of the cat, but it absolutely loves me. Like, I mean, it's mental. It basically rapes me every night. Like, it will come and rub itself all over.
Let's not go there. There's so many comments just flew into my head right there when you said that.
Yeah, so I could never get rid of it. Yeah. Yeah.
What are some things you love about the reptile world?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, if you're going to ask me what I hate about the reptile world, this will go both ways.
That's next.
So I love the people, and then of course the people can be incredibly draining at the same time. So I think it's the same with probably any hobby. There's some absolutely fantastic people. You'll make some great friends, as I have definitely done over the many years of being in this. Some very long-term friends, all that sort of thing. Then obviously sometimes people can bring you down, but I've risen above most of that these days. To be honest, I don't really care what people say too much anymore. But yeah, so that's one thing I definitely like. I definitely love the people I've met and the long-term friendships I've made and that sort of thing. That's fantastic. What else do I love? I mean, it's really this is what I do for a living, so it is nice to deal with animals. Although animals aren't all of my income, of course, but certainly getting to deal with animals as part of your job is very fun. I certainly enjoy that. Growing up as a young man, I worked in zoos and what have you, and yeah, I mean, getting paid to do it was one thing, but making it your own business and getting paid even more is obviously even more enjoyable. So yeah, I like that side. Yeah.
You are living the dream, some would say, of many people want to, work in their hobby. So I guess you've landed in the spot finally.
Yes, definitely. That's right.
So what do you think needs to change in the hobby? Clearly, we gave you no heads up on this.
I know.
Simple questions.
I said, mate, it's just I'm just going to ask you questions. You're just going to answer.
Oh, you could have given me a heads up on some of these.
No, mate. No, I like it. I like it to be straight up, mate. You just tell it as you see it.
One thing you'll realise about our show, it is raw. It is what you see is what you get. There's no edits, no cuts. And
there's no bullshit.
It's what makes it fun, I think.
Yeah, look,
like it anyway.
I think as much as it both helps, it also hinders. I think the online presence can both be very good and very toxic at the same time. And what I'd like to see change, I don't know how, but what I'd love to see change is a way to filter that so that new people coming into the hobby can feel like they've got a real safe place to ask all their questions, to get the proper feedback from experienced keepers, and somehow that they would know that they're experienced, So yeah, I think that's what I'd like to see change. But as I say, how to change it, I don't really know.
Don't know. You need some sort of Facebook approved expert tag or something, to safe place to ask. I don't know.
They did that in some of the venomous snake groups where they put like approved ideas and whatnot, and I thought that was fantastic. I really like that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess there's probably ways, but yeah, that's what I'd like to see change. You know,
The biggest problem with a public platform, so to speak, such as
It has
Facebook,
people in it.
there's people in it. Well, there's people. No, it's the lack of respect for differences of opinion.
Yeah, that's
Now,
right.
The way I keep something, you might disagree with, but as long as at the end of the day, regardless of what the animal is, as long as that animal is healthy, it is happy, and does everything it's supposed to do, then how you keep and how I keep it is irrelevant. It's a difference of opinion. But
That's
unfortunately, some people are so, it's like an extreme. You can't argue with an extremist because it doesn't matter, regardless of what the topic is. They're always right. Whether it's a Donald Trump hater versus a Donald Trump supporter, extremists at either side. It wouldn't matter if he did one thing good or one thing bad. It wouldn't matter. You know? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. You can't argue with them.
True.
So a little
That's
bit of
true.
tolerance.
That's right.
You've got one way of doing something.
Yeah, having an open mind for things is obviously important. It can be difficult on social media, of course.
Yeah, well, it's a public platform. Everyone can voice their opinion, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. So, what about people that you learned from or inspired you in your days in the hobby?
Sure. Simon Stone was a big influence of mine in the early days.
For many.
Yeah, I used to have like a direct line with him. I could call him up and ask him all sorts of things. He was always so very good to take his time and explain everything. He used to send me all kinds of information that he'd written. I've still got heaps of it on my computer, and every now and again I go back through it and sometimes have a look. I know I think he's still got a website up. He was one of the first ones to ever do that. He was probably one of my biggest mentors. I think also being very business oriented as well rubbed off on me. He was another influence in that area of my life, although I had a few other influences as well in business. So that certainly probably helped me, I would say. Other than that, like back in the old days of the APS days, Aussie Pythons and Snakes, when that forum was raging, I was on there all the time, and it just seemed to be a lot more civil. Everyone was sort of. There was, of course, the odd, argument here or there, but for the most part, it was like everybody just cared about the animals. Everybody was just trying to pass on their knowledge and whatnot. So, yeah, I got a lot of inspiration and help, I suppose, through there.
I remember before it was even a website, Aussie Pythons used to be. One of those, I can't remember what they call them now. It was just like a text page. It wasn't even a website.
The little chat, the little chat rooms they used to have.
Well, they had chat rooms as well after. They were always a bit of a rage. Lots of trouble in those back in the day.
They used to use crows with a bit of paper when you were a kid, weren't they, Daz?
Pigeon.
I heard you used to own the snake that was in the Garden of Eden. That's how long you've been breeding.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before.
I tried to. No, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. It was going in the wrong direction real fast.
Leave it alone. It's PG time. PG, still 7:30.
That's right. That's right.
We're talking about snakes and Gardens of Eden. Let's not put those in the same sentence.
Very good.
That's not what I'm putting. Oh, anyway.
So, what's your best advice to the newbies that come into the hobby?
Well, yeah, I mean, social media still has its benefits, so you got to learn as much as you can. I think try to find one of the big mistakes a lot of people used to make, although back in the old days, was that any information that was, say, on a website or what have you, used to be written mostly by Americans, and honestly, they had no fucking idea what they were doing in the early days. I mean, everybody, like you guys probably remember diamond python syndrome because they just used to completely cook diamond pythons and things like that. So look for information written by Aussies, Aussie websites and what have you. Most, like these days, there's great information out there, a lot better than what, I remember being able to find. So, just stick with knowledgeable Aussies. If they've got websites and things, there's a very good chance that they know what they're talking about. We've got heaps of care sheets on all the very basic animals on fuzzyfox.com.au, so you can always go there and read them. Find a mentor if you can. Find someone that's been in the hobby for a long time and listen to their advice. And of course, even if you find a mentor and listen to their advice, you can always still implement things that suit you a little bit better, provided that basic knowledge is there and whatnot. Yeah, so that's sort of it.
Any magic tricks like books or YouTube channels or anything you follow that can help people learning you can recommend?
Yeah, I mean the keeping and breeding books that were edited by Mike Swan was written by some of the early keepers who I think have done a fantastic job, and yeah, all the knowledge in there is fairly sound today. There are some things we've stopped doing or changed, a few little things here and there, but for the most part, the general foundation of the knowledge that they're giving is still very, very good. So yeah, the keeping and breeding books are fantastic. No, I don't watch too many people on YouTube. I don't really have a lot of time for things like that too much.
We'll end the show right now. Thanks.
Yes.
Absolutely. And what's one thing that really tests your patience while working with animals, especially reptiles?
Yeah, look, a snake that doesn't eat is always stressful and annoying. I mean, I have to admit, in my early years of breeding, carpet pythons in particular, I used to really struggle. I'd spend hours and hours all night trying to feed hatchlings, but I've certainly learned that, and you guys know this, like a snake that isn't stressed will eat. So it's always better to leave a snake with a food item overnight and come back, and a lot of the time they will have eaten it, instead of like just trying to persevere and keep stressing yourself out and the snake. So, and that goes for even if you happen to buy one off a breeder that perhaps stopped eating for some reason. Don't stress it out, just leave the food in and hopefully it'll eat it. And if it doesn't, then check your husbandry, just go through all the check steps and whatnot. And yeah, that's probably my advice to first time keepers and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. So moving into Fuzzy Fox land, where did Fuzzy Fox, like the name, come from and how did it begin?
The name was a bit of a mistake, I think, in some ways.
Not from where we're sitting.
Seemed to pan out all right.
Yeah. One of my very first businesses that didn't really go too well was selling toys online. And I had the domain name, fuzzyfox.com.au. That was the name of the toys. And I thought, because that sounded like an all right name for selling toys. Anyway, we were actually called Ready Rodents in the early days. And when I decided I was going to kind of keep going and go to a commercial level with the rodents, because we were still just doing them at home at the time, I thought, I'll need to get a website and I'll need a domain name and all these sorts of things. And I thought, I've still got that domain sitting there. I'll just use that, So it kind of came from there. And then I went, and then I'd never a little piece of me probably didn't think I would get quite as big and everything as I did. So I sort of thought, that'll just do. But had I really put a lot of thought into it, maybe I would have come up with a different name. But anyway, it's a lot of people know it, and it's it's different. It's not like Paul's Pythons or Sam's Snakes or anything like that kind of just blends in with the crowd, So it does stand
still
out.
Catchy.
Yeah, that's right. It's catchy, and we'll stick with it now. So yeah,
it is what it is. Once the name's there, I was in the same boat thinking about changing it, but everyone goes, "That's really by design to you." Like it's there.
That's
now.
right.
Like
that's right. Yeah.
It was like just I don't know. This will do for now, and I'll work out something else later. And it's like, well, it is what it is,
Yep.
So a few more hellos in the chat while we have a bit of a thing. What else we got? Julian Hutchins got a suggestion for you: feed the cat to the snake. That'll help with the cat problem.
He's a great animal lover, Julian. He's a kind, compassionate man.
Yeah, no, couldn't do that.
Zach said the same, so I assume you're saying the same thing. Feed the cat to the snake. So we've got a seconder there, I think. Chris Fletcher says, "What breeds have you got, Andy?" So maybe that's. Are we interrupting your question line because we can skip these questions and come back, Brent? If you
no, keep going, mate. Run through them, or they're going to get way out of date. So
yeah, I'll get out of date. So just quickly, Andy, what breeds? Obviously, reptile breeds.
Reptile breeds?
Yeah, you're keeping at the moment.
God, well, the list is long. Even though I've downsized my collection a lot, I've probably still got over 100 animals in my care. So, but if let's just do Varanus. I've still got Varanus gilleni. I've got Brevicorda, Storai, Cordo linearis, Varanus varius. What else have I got? Ackies, of course. Tristis. And That's about it. Yeah, that's it. That's all I've got these days.
No
So,
Barichis in there? They seem to be one you don't see around much anymore. Venus Barichi.
no, yeah, no.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Stephen Johnson, g'day, Andy, and Archie is awesome. There you go, whoever Archie is.
Oh, who was that? Sorry.
Stephen Johnson.
Oh, Snowy. He used to come out and buy a lot of rats off us. So yeah, he used to pat Archie a lot. Yep, Archie's our French bulldog.
Zach Dixon says,
really?
Well said, Darren. So I must have said something really good.
That's my dog name. You stole my dog name.
Oh, really? Your dog's Archie too. Oh, there you go.
My dog's Archie. Mm.
No, my dog's not. Adam Andrews, my birthday today, and happy to spend it with you, lads. So happy birthday,
Adam.
Adam.
Happy birthday, mate. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Emma, are we taking bets, Stas? I'm not sure. What's the bet, Emma? I don't know. I'm happy to do bets. I lose them, so there's a good chance you'll win. Ask Brent. He'll confirm it with all the alcohol he won from me last season.
Egg season coming, mate. I can't wait. I'm not sure which one I'm more excited about, the Bailey's and Kalura influx or the hatches coming out of the eggs. So.
Maybe it's both.
You like?
We'll see.
I can't drink Bailey's. I don't like any sort of milky flavored alcohol.
Yeah. It is a bit of a ladies' drink. You can blame Brent for putting me back on it. The
I'm all
Scotch and
for
cake
it.
days are gone. Actually, last
Too soft now.
day, you got me back on the Scotch and cakes. That could have got messy, except we left, so it was good. Stuart Gamble says hello. Alison Zapala, hey guys, hope everyone's doing well. Faye Rankin's in the house. Hey Faye.
Faye.
Easy.
Yeah, Chris Fletcher. Have you had much success this breeding season, Andy?
No, I've had a shocker this year, actually. It's funny because last year I had a year off, if you like. I only produced, I think, around 5 clutches or so. And this year I decided to sort of pair up everything, and it actually looks like a lot of stuff doesn't want to go. This year I had my very first ever carpet python lay a full clutch of slugs. First time ever. So
Total fail.
Total fail. I couldn't believe that.
Not the only one, mate. I'm in the same boat, so and I've heard of others saying the same. So
okay.
It can be seasonal, you know. I think sometimes the season throws out. It gets colder sooner or hotter or colder later. You know, the pythons get in a cycle, then it quite cool. Right?
Yeah. So I've only got one clutch in the incubator at the moment. So, but I've definitely got a few Antaresia that should drop any day now. So
I got 5 ant clutches here. You want one?
No thanks.
Doing some natural incubation.
Yeah, you know, I know a lot of people don't like breeding Antaresia, but that's what I breed the most of. And I absolutely have fantastic success with getting hatchlings to go, way better than I do carpet pythons. I'm not sure why. But yeah, just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah. Reptilia is in the house. Hello, mate.
Old Marty boy.
Hey.
How are you, Marty?
How are you, buddy?
We've gone official now. We've got E&C reptiles. No more Mr. Deebs.
Yeah, he's upgraded, mate. Deep Start, how are you, mate?
Corey Farr. Okay,
that's an
mate.
interesting trial you're doing there, Daz, with some natural incubation in a tub. It's
yes.
It'll be interesting to see the results of that. So that'll
sitting here. Probably which one was I want to put out today? There's one that's made an absolute mess.
I normally do at least 1 or 2 Antaresia every year in their tubs. They're always fine.
Yep.
You might lose a couple of eggs, but most of the time they're okay.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are only small. They're not massive. So we can just have a bit of a sneak peek in the top here. You can see there. Don't know how well that's going to come. Hang on, I just got to get the camera angle right.
Bring it up a bit. Yeah, yep, beautiful.
There's a couple in there, they're happily sitting there. I haven't done them before, so I was curious.
Yeah. Lovely. I think Faye leaves a few in her tubs, or might do the odd one in tubs as well. I think, so.
Well, I've kind of always artificially incubated them, and you kind of read around them. Brett and I have had discussions on in the past, and obviously, there's people like Peter Birch is quite a big advocate of doing it, or he's doing it quite a lot lately. There's quite a few people over in the States doing it.
Yep.
And I know one season I was away up in Darwin for 3 months, and I had some laying there, and they all basically shriveled up, died, went hard because I wasn't here to take them off.
Yeah.
So I've actually got the tubs sitting slightly forward, so they're not actually sitting on directly onto the heat cord.
Yep.
And monitoring them, they seem to be doing quite well.
Yeah, nice.
we'll see how that is in another.
The only thing that
30
sucks
days.
is when you get all the babies hatch, if you don't notice. Like if you don't check them for a couple of days and they've all come out and they're just roaming around the place, That's annoying.
Well, they shouldn't. Well, theoretically, they shouldn't get out of there. But my concern is you'll open the tub and suddenly, 10 hatches go. Oh, they've hatched.
Yeah, that's it.
So, give it a
Could
bit
be
of a
exciting. We'll see how it rolls out. But so after rodent breeding, obviously you started the rodents for yourself, self collection feeding. How far into that before you decided commercial? Was it a couple of years later you went big, or?
Oh, I'd been breeding rats and mice. Well, I'd been breeding mice in particular for, probably 5 years after keeping snakes. I always had a few tubs of mice going, and then I used to still buy in my rats, and I used to get them from Garth, who's a local breeder near me. And then he said he was getting out of it, and I thought, I'll get it. I had a mate that was breeding up in Sydney, and he had a couple old rat racks. He said, I don't want them, come get them. And I said, yeah, right, I'll come up, and I got them, and then brought some breeders off Garth and set up my own. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh shit, I got fucking way too many. So I started selling even more. I was already selling a few like mice and things to mates, but then I had rats, and so started selling them off. And then I was like, oh man, like. This is going all right. So, I just sort of kept putting the money I made back into building more racks, and it grew, and I filled up my entire garage. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I've got a full-on little business here now, already. So I thought, all right, I'll just expand or go into a warehouse. And we did that for, so I don't know. So, I mean, like I say, so the question was, how long have I been doing rats and mice? I mean, I've probably been doing them for like 15 years or more. But on a commercial scale, we did them for about a bit over 8 years. So,
Yep. And out of the rodents now. And what started the gel mix? Where did that story begin?
Well, first, I'm not quite out of the rats and mice. I've still got 4 racks in the garage. It's but
almost out.
For punishment.
Almost out. I just can't quite let go, apparently. So, anyway. But I was already doing the gel mix, while we were commercial breeding the rats and mice. And I was kind of looking at the warehouse space that we were in, and I had a little bit of space. And I thought, well, what could I do, And I sort of thought, well, we're already doing reptile food, so let's look into doing more reptile foods, So bought a whole bunch of barrels and whatnot, and put all the ingredients we needed in them. And it just kind of went from there. So we only started with three of these, like these here. So these are the 200-gram jars. I had the carnivore, which is this one, the insectivore and omnivore, and that was it, just that. And I thought, all right, we'll just do this and we'll see how it goes. And then sure enough, they started selling, and I was like, oh, okay, people do want this, all right. So we'll keep going, and then we people were saying, oh, we want a bigger, cheaper size. So then we moved into like these big 700-gram jars, And from there we
just hold it up, Andy, so everyone can have a look.
All right, hang on, I've got another one here too. 700-gram jars. So we moved into making those. So we had a bigger size. This is not one of the early ones, but that's the size that we had. And they were selling okay too, but the 200 grams were definitely selling a lot better. And so I thought, all right, well, if they're going well, I'll bring out a smaller size instead. And then we moved on to these. But I didn't just want to bring out a smaller jar. I wanted to make it as simple as I could for everyone. And so these jars, you don't have to measure anything. Like, unfortunately, with the bigger ones, you've got to measure out how much you want to make up with how much water it needs to go in and put it into another mixing bowl. But with these smaller ones, you just pour 120 mils of water straight in, boiling water, mix it up, and stick it straight in the fridge to set. And it's just so easy, So then you just keep a spoon and scoop out what you need. Yeah.
So it's like a bowl of noodles for your reptiles. Just pour the hot water in and wait till it sets and go.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So while you're talking about that, I'm just going to share screen. So anybody wants to have a look at Andy's site, this is Andy's website here, which is fuzzyfox.com.au. And he obviously has his range of products there. You can see he's not only for the reptiles, but also for the fish.
Yeah, we've got 3 for fish. Yep. Yeah.
So
those care sheets are there too, if anybody wants to go and sort of learn if they're a beginner, So, it's got a bit of stuff on there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And 100% Aussie made.
100% Australian made, exactly. It really is fantastic to to support obviously local businesses and everything. And yeah, we've tried to not only, I mean, obviously all the manufacturing is done by us, and so it is Australian made. But not only that, we've tried to use almost all Australian ingredients, and other than about 2, because they just don't exist in Australia, every single ingredient does come, or all those other ingredients do come from Australian sources. So yeah, it's all kept within Australia. It's good.
Aussie made, Aussie owned, and I guess that's something a lot more people are taking notice of now when we've seen the problems with supply chain things from overseas, and how heavily impacted the costs can be. Freighting things from overseas at the moment's insane. So something made right here in our backyard is something you should be proud of, mate. It's Australian owned and Australian made is something special.
Yeah, even like the labels, they get printed by a small family-run business too. The jars come from a small family-run business down in Victoria. We've tried to do as much as possible within the country so that when people are supporting us as a small family business, they're also supporting all these other small family businesses too. So yeah,
it's good. That's good.
Excellent.
Awesome.
And I hear that the magic in the mixing. I hear you have a blow up pool in your backyard that you mix it in naked and just do a big starfish in the pool to mix all the gels up.
So instead of putting jelly in it, you're putting insectivore mix and off you go.
Yeah, we'll put a link to my OnlyFans down in the description. All right, so
that'd be beautiful. Made by Aussies for Aussies, eh?
Yeah,
Fuzzy
that's
Fox
right.
Omnivore Mixing Day. Come watch me in the pool. Adults only.
No one wants to see that. I'm positive, except maybe Brent. But...
Oh, mate, I'll come and see it in person. In person.
Yeah, very good.
So what do you say? Like, people often, I've heard, I wouldn't say criticism, but people often question gel mix versus real, complete, whole prey items. What's the difference? Can an animal just live on a gel mix?
Yes.
Do they need rodents? Should it be used as an additive? Should it be used as a full diet? What's the GO?
Yes to all. Yes to all. It has everything in it an animal needs to thrive. Absolutely. We've like, they're scientifically formulated. We've dealt with food technicians and herpetologists to get the best that we can possibly get into these products. Like we spent so much money developing this. Just to let people know, some of the scientists we deal with charge $1,000 a day to fucking help us with this stuff. Now, obviously, we don't need them for days and days, but they will just give all their knowledge and feedback and whatnot. But the other thing is, there's absolutely no substitute for a balanced diet. I mean, it's the same for humans. It's the same for animals. So what we're finding the vast majority of people do is they will feed this in conjunction with like other food. So if you've got, say, a bearded dragon and you need to feed usually, adult beardies during the warmer months about 3 times a week or so, they will feed them crickets one day, fresh veggies the next, our gel mix the following, and that way you're keeping it going. However, I've myself, and I know others who have kept both blueies and beardies, for example, that's just an example, on nothing but this for over 6 months now, and they have bred, and they are healthy, they look fantastic. It's all the food and stuff that's in these about 80% of the food in here is human grade food. It's the same stuff you and I eat anyway, and many of the products that we find on supermarket shelves. So yes, it is.
I love a bit of black fly larva in my.
Well, that's right. That's one of the few. That's one of the few that isn't. So yes, but yeah, many of them are, and yeah, you can absolutely keep an animal on these products. Yep.
Have you done any comparisons on the cost if you just fed that animal you're talking about purely on the gel mix versus the equivalent in rodents, or the equivalent, if it was a monitor, rodents versus gel, or
actually, I haven't done rodents, but I did do crickets, and these jars here will give more sustenance than a container of crickets. So, and they're about the same price. So, yeah.
I suppose the other side, when you're talking about crickets and wood roaches and stuff like that, it's what they eat is just as important. So a lot of people don't actually, gut load your crickets, and you should be feeding them something decent rather than just chucking a carrot in and letting them live off a carrot and then feeding it to your monitor. What you put in that food source goes directly into your monitor as well.
That's so true, Daz. That's like with the, let's just take the carnivore mix, for example. You might think, all right, the carnivore mix is only going to have meat in it, but it doesn't. We have some vegetables in here too, and the percentage that's in here is the equivalent of what a prey item might have in its gut, you know? So so that's the kind of level and work that's gone into developing these, you know?
Yeah. And when you think about that, a lot of people may not take it into consideration, but you know, old mate hits the kangaroo driving his car, bolts it over, knocks it in the bush. The old Lacey comes and fights. What's the first thing it does? Straight into the gut cavity, generally via the anus. But the first thing it does is eat its guts. It'll eat the internal organs before it will devour the flesh, and because that's where all the nutrients is. Like you said, in the gut. You know, you've got heart, liver, spleen, kidneys. You've got all these things that have all your vitamin D3 and all these different, all the vitamins and everything that they need. The meat is, yes, certainly a source of protein, so to speak. They'll eat the whole thing eventually. But if you've ever found a Lacey devouring a carcass out in the bush, and if you do enough time find something stinky, you'll normally find a Lacey near it. They normally got their head buried in the cavity. They're normally, they're not entirely in it, they've got their head right into it, and they're eating everything inside that cavity before they start eating anything outside.
Yeah.
So, it's exactly right.
Yes. I was amazed at that gel mix, that carnivore mix. The first time I used it with the Lacey's I have, they instantly recognised it as food. And it was something I was concerned of, that they've always eaten raw mince, rodents, everything. They've never seen gel mix before. So basically when I made a container up and chopped it up into little blocks and basically just handed it up to them. You got that video there, Daz?
I do. So what Brent's saying, he actually shared it a little while ago. So this is actually the video, the first time. What mix was this, Brent?
This is the carnivore one. Yep.
So in the bowl here, you can see in the picture is the bowl with the carnivore mix that Brent's held up. We'll just watch this quick video. Straight into it.
That was basically turn the head, have one little sniff, and then start chomping. And that's something that I found amazing. That's obviously the scent of it, that they recognise it's food straight away. But the shape of it, you know, it looks like a block of chocolate. It's nothing that they would recognise as food, you know. So
that's right, yeah.
And they just hoed into it, you know. They sort of chomp, you know, ripped it apart, and then they were chasing the scraps around on the ground afterwards. So it was just, well, I found it amazing that they recognise food. I mean, Lacey's are pigs. They, you know, anything that moves, they want to have a sniff and have a go at. But they were just straight onto it, and you know, they never turned their head up to it. Any of them. When some of them, I've even got some Lacey's, one that just only eats mice and won't even eat rats. You know, she's too special. So, but they all eat the gel mix. You know, that's
wow, that's good.
I found it interesting that there's no hesitation there at all. So,
yeah, fantastic. Let me just
approved by goannas.
Yeah, let me just say, we have had 100% success rate with skinks eating it. I've never had a single person come and say that their skink didn't touch it. We've had probably 99% success with dragons. We get the odd one that doesn't seem to take to it straight away, but I've also helped a few people just like putting it on tongs and moving it around a little bit like it's a live insect or something, and once they get the taste of it, then they usually switch and they start eating it without any issues. The vast majority of monitors do eat it, but I have had a few that don't. Like, for example, in my own collection, the gill and I don't even look at it. Not interested whatsoever. Same goes for the cordos, but yeah, most of them still do. My Ackies absolutely smash it. My Tristis eat it. My Brevicorda smash it. You know, all of these guys smash it. But I think the general census I'm getting with monitors is that semi-terrestrial and terrestrial species are probably far more moving prey oriented. So they really want to see something that's running around, and they seem to be the ones that are a little bit more hesitant to want to take it, unfortunately. But the other thing to remember is the carnivore mix isn't just for monitors. You know, it's a high protein mix. It can be fed to breeding blue tongues, breeding bearded dragons, or any dragons, you know, or any skinks, to be honest, as a way to put weight back on them or something, you know. So it's not just for carnivorous animals. So.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about insects getting defeated. I remember, you know, back in the day we didn't have a lot of this stuff back in the early 2000s. So the old canned cat food, canned whiskers and stuff was, a good way to fatten up your bearded dragons, or monitors or anything else in that you had. So one of the tricks I used to have was trying to convert the lizards. Obviously, when they're born, they're basically insectivorous, and then as they grow, you convert their diet into more salad and that.
Yep.
But the way I would get them onto the cat food is I would normally put the cat food onto the veggies, and they go for the capsicum and the red stuff first. If they didn't, I would actually get wood roaches and crickets and shove them in it, and they would see the cat food wriggling.
Yeah.
With the cricket and the wood roach in it, and then they would naturally, they turn their head and have a look. What's that? And they grab it. They get a mouthful of it, and you see them kind of look at you like, "What is this?"
Yes.
And then they go, "Oh, this tastes all right."
Yeah.
They're on it. So
I did the same with a group of young Ackies that I bred a couple of years ago. They were ready to be switched. Well, they'd only been fed insects, crickets basically, and nothing else. And when I first showed them the carnivore mix, they weren't interested. Didn't want a bar of it. And so I got some crickets, threw it in there, and put some of the mix on the backs of the crickets. And then once they started smashing it, and getting the taste, I then took some little bits in the end of my tongs and just started moving it around because they knew that the crickets often come from the tongs, and they started eating it. And then it just took those 2 feeding sessions, and after that I could just put it in a bowl and they would come over, sniff it, and go, "Oh, great, I know this stuff," and start eating it. So,
once they know that smell,
that's
it, they're right.
Yeah. Cool.
How many products are in that range now of the gel mixes?
Ooh, I knew you were going to ask me that. Bring up that website again, Daz.
Oh, come on. Who's head of product development down there?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's all a blur. Product development just keeps going and going.
So we've got the insectivore mix, the omnivore mix, the carnivore mix, turtle mix. You've got calcium powder, insectivore fish, spirulina mix for your natural, I don't know, what are they?
That's a cichlid.
Cichlid, yeah, that's it. Xylophore mix, turtle food, and veggie mix.
Yep.
Down the bottom there.
So there you go.
So you got 3, 6, 9, 10. It's
10 going?
Yep. And you got any plans to add to that down the track, Andy?
Is that actually my website though, Daz? Because there's other products on there that aren't showing up actually.
Oh, hang on. Let me just hang on. I'll put you back on here and we'll explore. It just says sort by featured.
Just click on
fuzzyfox.com.au collection.
Yeah. Just click on the fox at the top in the middle, and then go to reptile food.
Oh, there we go. Reptile food.
And if you scroll down, so we've also got the pellets there now as well.
There's reptile pellets there.
Yeah, we only launched them a few days ago.
This is the latest and greatest.
Yep. And I'm absolutely blown away by how many people have ordered those products already. Like, we launched them only last Thursday, and I've already sold like over 50 kgs of the stuff in just those few days, and I've only really promoted them a little bit on social media. So yeah, they're shockingly popular. So
what's the story with the pellets? What's the advantage in that?
So the pellets are definitely not a whole food. They are a supplement. They're the sort of thing that you can put in a cage and leave there for a few days, or even maybe longer than that, and let your animals just graze on them. You definitely don't want to be just permanently feeding your animals on them. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much the go with all of those reptile pellet type on it. I know yours isn't the only brand.
No, that's right.
But I think that's pretty much the recommendation for most of them anyway. As you said, it's a substitute for the diet.
Yeah, exactly. It's a supplement. Now, these pellets, for anyone that's interested, and stop me if I'm rambling, because this is where I go into like the production side of things a little bit. I was shocked at how fucking hard, excuse my language, how hard it was to make them. Like, I didn't realize how much it's not, well, it is work, but yeah, development really. I mean, I ended up having to employ a different food technician because the one that we normally use seemed to be a bit above him, not above him, it's just an area that he didn't know, I should say. And once I spoke to an actual pellet technician, things started to make a little bit more sense, and I was just shocked at how different it is making pellets. So we did have to buy a pellet machine, of course, but I kind of thought a little bit naively that if I just throw in my recipe into this pellet machine, I'll get these beautiful pellets that come out. I thought it would be that
we got to have something that
simple.
binds it, don't you?
I had to completely rethink our recipe, and then the big problem for me is that I don't want to just don't want to submit to whatever the right ingredients for the pellet process is. I want a nutritional pellet that suits reptiles the best that I can possibly make. So it was absolutely essential for me that we have insects in these, and insects don't bind at all. So when you're trying to put them through the pellet machine, they just come out as mush again. So basic, and I also wanted meat in it. Like these sorts of things are incredibly important. Excuse me. And so trying to get them to work, because meat doesn't bind either. So trying to get them to form in a pellet was very difficult. So it took me a lot of months to get these pellets to market. Excuse me, sorry.
I know that's a very similar thing with the rodent food pellets. A friend of mine who also breeds quite a few rodents. He's gone through quite a bit and had them. Of course, he's so big. He's actually had companies change their, ratios, so to speak, percentage of ingredients.
Yep.
To it, but when you change that, it can change like you said, the binding qualities.
That's right.
So when this goes up too much, suddenly that pellet that was nice and bound and come out of the pellet press the way it's supposed to suddenly falls apart.
That's right.
Work.
I read a fantastic. I had to turn to the stock feed industry, and I found a really compelling study. This is all scientific stuff. I found a very compelling study done on sheep, and they took like three flocks of sheep, and they made these pellets, and they basically they did one lot of pellets that was basically the mush, Then they did one lot of pellets that was like poorly binded, and then they did one lot of pellets where they believed it should be, the way it should be binded correctly, and they monitored the growth of each flock of sheep, and there was a 25% growth increase based purely on the way the pellet was bound, like its quality. Wow. So just the way the pellet binds was so important because of the way that it interacts in the gut of the animal that's eating it. It needs to break down slowly, and it needs to have time to release all the nutrients that it needs to release. So all of this sort of thing has to be taken into consideration when we're making these pellets. And then of course, so you finally get all that information, and you finally get the pellet starting to come through okay. And then I went and I contacted a whole bunch of people in the hobby that I know, and asked, what do you hate about other pellets that you're feeding to animals? And one of the big things I found was that they were actually too hard. So we had to kind of go from making a quite hard pellet to bringing it back just slightly a little bit again, but still making sure that it wasn't going to break down too quickly inside the gut of the animal to make sure they get the right thing. But we didn't want it so hard that it was chipping teeth, because I'd heard that from a few people as well, So it took me so much longer to develop these pellets than I had originally anticipated, but I am ridiculously happy with how they've come out. And there's very few pellets on the market that have insects and meat mixed in. And like I say, being a reptile keeper myself, I'm very passionate about making sure I've got all the right stuff in there for reptiles. So
I think that's one side of it that a lot of us don't see. Is how much time and effort, and you're only talking one product here.
Yes, that's right.
Not
exactly.
the rest. And sure, you might get one, and then a few mixes turns into another one, or whatever.
Yes,
but there's countless hours of work and research, and it's not just that; it's finding the people that can do the work. Like your scientific researchers, you have one that can't answer your question. You've got to find another one. It takes time.
That's right.
You might be lucky and get a reference. The guy must say, mate, I got no one that can help you. Try these bloke. And next minute you spend a week on the phone ringing around trying to find one person that can give you the answers you need.
Yeah. I mean, even just, oops.
Oh, look out.
Sorry, I'm back. Oh, no. Hold on.
Phone crash.
On my back.
That's taxi.
Oh, good. Here's our 400 gram one, and then our 1 kg one. But even just like the design of the labels, the bags, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The amount of work that goes into it, it's mental.
Yep.
I'm just going to grab a drink of water. Just be right back.
Yep,
Sorry.
Yep. Intermission. Beep. We'll catch up with whatever is. All right, where were we? Charlie, Corey Farm. My stuff kept outside, and everything seems to be a month and a half behind the past 2 years. It's certainly been a different season, mate. I read the same here. Not that I've had a massive season here. Certainly a lot quieter than what it has been. Not overly the best. Emma, our last clutch just dropped for the season. 12 in incubator, 4 hatch. 4 hatched already.
Sorry about that.
That's early. They always get a couple of early clutches up there at Zemex. Sneaky early season lovers.
Oh, that's very nice.
Well, that's good. Goes Langley. Sorry, I'm late, fellas. That's all right. We'll let you off.
Yeah,
Michael Wood. No, I forgot. I can't believe I forgot about allowing for the hour difference to Queensland time. We've had a great show so far. I don't know. We're enjoying it. I don't know whether everyone else is or not.
I put AEDT on there. Maybe I should write Sydney time as well or something. It's often been a problem over the years of stupid daylight savings that Australia can't agree on what time it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, the problem is that if you're in Sydney, it's good because, you get a reasonable daylight period throughout the day. But having been up to Noosa, where my nephew was living, up there during daylight savings, when the sun's up at 4:30 in the morning and gone by 5 o'clock, you suddenly think that daylight savings is pretty good. The fact it still comes up at, like 6:30, whatever, and 8 o'clock it's still daylight. When you get home from work, whatever, you've still got all these hours of things you can do stuff in. Whereas up there, it's like, you get used to it after a while. You go to bed at 8 o'clock because you're up at 4 in the morning because it's daylight, instead of the afternoon, you've got all these few hours of sunlight in the morning before you actually even go to work.
Yeah.
Faye's got the right time. Ice cream time. She's 100% correct. Good on you. Good on you, Faisy. You do what you want.
Yeah. What sort of ice cream, though? Is it just plain ice cream? Or has it got a banana cut in it with some flavouring and some crushed nuts on it? Or a bit of whipped cream?
Oh, God. So what's next, Mr. Fuzzy Fox? What's the future? It's where do you go from here?
I think we've almost finished with the reptile range for now, unless anybody's got any suggestions, things that they might be interested in us developing. I'm always open to listening. The next step is really expanding our fish range. Our 3 fish products, 2 in particular sell quite well. I'm probably better than almost some of our reptile stuff, to be honest. And in particular, the where is it gone? This one, the xylivore. It sells really well. Hold on, another drink. So we'll probably head down that route, I think. Yeah.
More fish products. That's good. So you can feed up those cichlids, so you can feed them off to the water monitors better. It's kind of like that whole circle of life, then.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We've already got a couple in the line. We've already got a couple of recipes made up, so we should see them pretty soon. And then I will probably do some fish pellets as well. Yeah.
Yep. Excellent. Well, that's all the questions I have for Mr. Fuzzy Fox. There's nothing else you need to tell the world about the products, Andy?
There probably is. I'll kick myself later, I'll say, damn, why didn't I mention that? But
well, Brent will probably come down and kick
that I can think of.
Corey Farr saying, can you imagine a rat substitute for carpets?
Yes, believe it or not, I'd actually looked into that.
We spoke about that today, Brent, didn't we?
Yeah. I think it's already being done. I might have seen
sausages,
maybe. Yeah. I looked into the sausages.
Yeah.
And it can certainly be done. Yeah. It's
been done before.
Yeah, that's right. It's been done before. I don't know how popular it is. I had considered doing just like 1 kg and 2 kg sausages for people that keep large snakes, like scrubbies and olives and black-headed pythons, because rabbits and things can often be a little bit more difficult to come by. I think there's plenty of rodent breeders out there. I don't think we really need to go down make like pinky mice size sausages or anything, but
See, it's funny. Faye says pinky pellets straight up. Yes. Well, Emma Dixon says that, assist feeding mix. We all know what it's like trying to assist feed Antaresia or baby carpets, and you're pushing in a pinky mouse that has very little nutrition value. Maybe that is a product that you could make a tiny, long AAA.
I already have people that take the carnivore mix and make it up really wet and syringe feed snakes with it. I've already had a few people that have told me they do that. So actually, that's something else I will mention. These mixes, right? They can be fed to other animals. Like I've got people that buy this mix again for, say, axolotls. Axolotls are carnivorous fish or amphibian. Yeah. So they they're actually a part of the salamander family. So they will they'll feed this to them. I've found another lady that's just recently been feeding this to ant colonies. Things like that. So anything that needs a mostly meat, high protein mix can still feed this stuff to them. So yeah. The only other thing I'll say, like I say. I deal with a lot of like sort of biggish names in the reptile world because when I'm developing these foods, because they have the knowledge, like sure I've gained huge amounts and do have probably quite a lot of knowledge on reptile nutrition now, but it's impossible for me to know absolutely everything. There are so many reptiles, so many variants, just so much. There's so much. Plus, I don't just do the nutrition. We're also the manufacturer. So, as I said before, things like bags and design, label design, and all these sorts of things. I do all that, So sometimes things get missed, and that's why, like talking to some like big blue tongue breeders, we originally had an ingredient in the pellets which I took out because even though after doing a lot of research, I don't think it was going to hurt them in any way. I just thought, you know what, I don't like it. There's not enough information on it, and there are some people saying that this particular ingredient is not ideal for skinks. Probably okay for dragons, but not skinks. And I went, you know what? Thank God someone just brought that to my attention. I'm just going to take it out just to be safe, and replace it with a different one. And things like that. It's better safe than sorry. I mean, another one we did. I haven't got the turtle mix here, but our original turtle mix, I've got a short neck turtle mix here. Our original turtle mix was not the best, if I'm being honest, and turtles are not my forte, So I actually had even talked to a bunch of pretty knowledgeable people I thought were knowledgeable, but I ended up having a member of the public just email me out of the blue one day, and they said, "Oh, did you know your turtle mix? It really shouldn't have these couple of ingredients in it. Long term, it may cause some issues, And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much." Anyway, after going back and forth with this guy, I was blown away with his knowledge. Someone I'd never heard of and just had been keeping turtles for 25 years and must have given me more information than I could ever find online. I couldn't and didn't even think to look in the areas he was telling me. And lo and behold, I thought, okay, the better thing to do here would be to split our turtle mix into two, discontinue the original line. And this one, the short neck turtle mix, has been selling like fucking hotcakes compared to our old stuff, So I guess turtle keepers or anyone that knows a lot about their particular, bunch of reptiles that they're keeping are looking at the ingredients and going, "Oh yeah, well, that's fucking a lot better than the last one, Let's start buying that." So, it's been so important for me to not get egotistical or even offended or whatever by anyone that comes to me and says, "Maybe you should consider looking at this." I always go, "Yes, I fucking will. I will look at that. I'll take it on board and I'll do my research." And sometimes people come to me and I'm like, "Well, that was stupid. Like they didn't know what they were talking about." But I never ever just say, this person, I'm not listening to this person, I know more, because it's been a couple of times now where I've gone, thank fuck that person came forward and told me, So yeah,
I think you got to
always be teachable.
Yep, that's it. The moment you shut your head off that you think you're doing well, you've already started your own demise.
That's right.
So
exactly.
you need to listen to people because you might not know that person, but that person, you talk about a turtle person. That person might be extremely well known.
Yes.
By turtle keepers all around the country. So you go, stick it in your butthole, buddy. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm just going to do what I want to do. He goes, all his mates and everyone else, I'll stick away from that stuff. It's got this and this in it, kill your turtles or whatever. I'm not sure what the problem would be.
It wasn't going to kill any, but he suggested that if I put these other ingredients in, they'd be far better, and so which I did, and then sure enough, and
that's the right attitude to have. It improves your product, improves your lines, and will
that's right.
Inevitably make them more popular and more people wanting to keep them. Stephen Johnson actually says he's got another one. What about a frog mix?
Frogs are, I think, just too visually oriented, so I don't think they would really take to it because we dealt in the early days. I dealt with Rick. Is it Rick Worthy, the gecko guy? So I sent him a bunch of stuff as well because a lot of American geckos will eat still foods, and I don't know much about geckos either. Turtles and geckos are not my area of expertise, that's for sure. So I said to Rick, I'll send you a bunch of stuff, test it out on your animals. Can you, And he said not a single one touched it. And he said, but I expected that because he said, all Australian geckos, they only look for insects. They're only looking for moving items. So I said, fair enough. I said, well, we won't be developing a gecko mix then, that's for sure. So so I think frogs are pretty much the same.
Yeah. Of course, I remember there was going to substitute for carpets. I know the reptile park at one point was making, what they call snake sausages.
Oh yeah.
Cool. It wasn't. Oh, I think it was a bit of rat. It was a bit of everything, roux meat, and it was a bit of a blend made in the sausages. It was made at a butcher up that way, which I happened to get to know. And he said, "Oh yeah, we make." It was pure random conversation, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, we make all these things for the reptile park." I'm like, "Oh, I mean, this is going back a long time. I don't think they do that anymore." It was a trial thing I think Weigel was doing back in the day. Well, I don't know. You think, throw a couple of sausages on the barbecue. What happens after time? The skin splits, whatever. What happens when you
that's right.
Frozen, you defrost them. The snake gets those nice sharp teeth into them.
Yes.
How much goes in and how much doesn't?
That's what we thought too. We went down the route and we did a bit of research and everything, and I thought exactly that. By the time they've ripped their teeth through it, and by the time they've sort of wrapped it up and everything, I thought, that could get pretty messy in an enclosure, So
I think on the hatching side of the thing, like you said, that in a wet mix. It's not the first time I've heard about that. Doing that sort of product in a wet mix and crop needed. Into neonates and stuff like that. So, it's a good idea for anyone that is having those sort of problems. Yeah, I think it's a safer option too.
So, where do people buy your product mostly, Andy? Is it directly off your website for the average person?
Look, absolutely. You can certainly buy it from the website. Some pet shops are cheaper than us, though. So, we have quite a few pet shops that stock it too. Plenty around New South Wales. Kellyville Pets has it. Pet Quarters stock it. So if you're near any of those shops, they have it. There's quite a few sort of independent stores. I can't think of all the names off the top of my head, but there's quite a few independents that have it as well.
On your website, your Pet Quarters, Kellyville Pets, Habitat, the Unusual Pet Vets.
Oh yeah, they stock it. Yeah, the Pet Vets stock it.
Feathers. They're just what you have on your website there.
Yeah, they're some of our sort of bigger stockists, I suppose, and
it's pretty much nationwide now. You think you're getting penetration into other states?
We're still only in Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria at the moment. I haven't managed to get anyone in Adelaide or Northern Territory, but I haven't really contacted anyone there either. So we probably need to go down that route eventually. Yeah.
If you're in South Oz, contact Andy and get on board. You could be taken over.
That's right. Yeah. You'd be the first one if you're in Adelaide or somewhere around there. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep, awesome. Oh,
cool.
It's good. Awesome product. That's for sure.
Yeah, thank you. And, it's taken a lot of work to get to where we are. It is a slow process. We have a lot of people that are excited about certain types, and when we bring them to market, they most of them sell pretty well. Some definitely sell a bit better than others, but they all sell, and I'm happy. I'm happy I've moved from the rats and mice into this. To be honest, like rodent breeding is a hard game. I mean, it is profitable, but it's stinky. It's a lot of work. These are definitely easier.
I don't miss it, mate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No one who gets out seems to want to come back for some reason. It seems to be a problem with those rodent breeder people.
I think it was about 2002 or 3. I got my first sort of rat tubs and some rats breeding in the garage, and I've pretty much had them almost non-stop up until, well, it was probably maybe 18 months ago or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I would struggle to ever keep them again.
Yeah.
You know, like they are great. You know, if you've got the facility, the ability to house them and clean them, and somewhere, you know, away from everything to keep the smell out.
Yeah.
And stuff, but they are
temp controlled.
There's no break. They're
Yeah.
every day check.
That's right. There's no break.
Every day. There's no break. You want to go on holidays for 2 weeks? It's not like you can, you know,
Exactly.
clean all your snakes, give them more water, and go away for 2 weeks and come back and they're all fine. You know, with the rodents, someone's got to be there because within a day they chew through their food a couple of days and no water and they're dead. You know, like it's
I agree. I didn't hate it when I was doing it, you know, when I was there, but you're always on the go. Like you said, 7 days a week. I'd have to drive to the warehouse and I had staff, you know, cleaning and all that. So that was all right. But when they're not there, you still got to go because there's always fucking one or two that managed to get out somehow, whether it was during the cleaning or they managed to chew a tub or whatever. And once they get desperate for water and they start chewing through those water lines and flooding everything,
disaster zone.
And then if they
nice
chew it at night
mixes.
time, you come in the next day and it's all, do not miss that all. And it's flooded everything and there's,
100%, man. No, I don't miss it either. I mean, like I say, I didn't hate it when I was doing it, but I'm glad it's over. But I mean, look, if anyone's young and enthusiastic, there's definitely money to be made. You know, I would happily encourage someone if they wanted to go down that route. You know, but I don't think it's a long-term thing really, unless you're out on a farm and you've got plenty of staff taking care of it all the time.
I think they take this hand and they look at the numbers and go, "Wow, look at what I can produce in this fantasy world of like every rat every 3 weeks is going to drop, you know, 15 pups." And all those 15 pups are going to get to this size and be worth, you know, $4 each or $5 each.
Yeah.
And if I had 300 of them, you know, I could make this much money. On this hand is the reality of how much work, time, and commitment it takes for them to be that successful. Yeah. There's a lot of work over the other side, you know.
But the same, it happens in the reptile world, doesn't it? You know, everyone comes in and says the same. Oh, if I buy just these 2 snakes or these 2 high-end morphs or whatever they think. And then they go, oh, well, if I produce 30 eggs, you know, from this girl each year and this girl, and then adds all that up in their head, and they're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to make a killing.
I'll make 460,000 this year from snakes. It was going to be great.
Yeah.
And then they breed it, they spend all that money, and they breed something, get one clutch, and then it slugs.
You know, one of the best bits of advice I ever heard was from that Brian Barjak, that American fella. I haven't watched him for probably, I don't know, over long bloody 7 or 8 years or so. But I'll never forget one thing he said when I was kind of getting quite big, I guess. He said, take what you think you're going to produce and half it. Take what you think you're going to make and half it. You know, and he just kept going like this, and you half that, and you half that, and you half that. That's going to be close to what you're going to end up with in your hand. And I was like, all right, I'll take his advice. And sure enough, he was right. You know, you're never going to get even close to what you think you're going to make. So, yeah.
Because you can't, with the rodent breeding in particular, you can't account for the flood. And if that flood happens to be in the top tub, which then overflows into the tub below it, which overflows into the tub below it, into the tub below it, into the tub below it.
But your water was always on, wasn't it?
Mine I had mine was connected to mains, but I had a ball valve that allowed me to turn mains on and off.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So every rack had a bucket, or the big racks had a 120 litre water container on it, but that 120 litre water container would feed 140 rack tubs.
Yeah.
So each one of those tubs had a ball valve in it from a toilet system in it. So you would basically walk in, turn the ball valve on, which would then flow water through all the piping to all the tubs, would fill them up. Once the buckets were filled, obviously the toilet float would stop and shut it off, and then you could go back and, when you left, turn the ball valve off and it'd be fine. But in saying that, you've still got 120 litres in a tub feeding all those rodents.
Which got to go somewhere.
So it's a double-folded problem, because if you get an escapee, which happens, I don't think you'll never ever get an escapee, because you will, the buggers of things. And it chews that line, and if it happens to be at the top, not only does it flood all the tanks, right, from top to bottom, because that overflow spills, run to the next one, and they all drown, they all die, which is terrible, but it happens. But not only that, everything else in the rack now has no water.
That's right. That's actually what I feel. Well, you feel bad for all of them, but yeah, especially if it's a hot day, you leave and then they chew through it. Once you're gone, you might not be back for 24 hours, and they've all been without water for 24 hours. It's awful.
Yep. Yeah, and it's a long time. And if you happen to go, you know what, I've done everything food, water, because I can't come in for the day, and you come in the day later, it can be devastating.
Yeah.
So it is. It's a good business if you do it right, but don't expect holidays unless you've got someone to look after it for you. And let's face it, I assume you're the same, Andy. I know if I was going on holidays, I had someone luckily that I could call in just to check food and water for me.
Yeah.
But for 3 weeks prior, you would bust your balls.
Yeah.
Getting it clean, gassing as much as you could, getting it frozen, all this sort of stuff to cut down numbers.
Yeah.
Then you would go away and have your holiday, knowing damn well you had to come back and then bust your balls for another 3 weeks after trying to get back.
That's right, because everything would have bred like crazy.
Everything's bred, everything's filthy. The one you're left with, little rat pups, they're now bloody almost weaners running around the tub,
That's right.
like chewing through food.
Yeah.
It's like never ends. They do not stop their mammals.
That's right.
Well, we all agree rodents suck, but hey, that's what reptiles eat, so we're stuck with them one way or another. So.
Yeah, that's right.
So if anyone's got questions, Andy, how do people ask, or if they've got advice, information, how do most people get hold of you?
Yeah, just hit us up on the email, sales@fuzzyfox.com.au, and I don't actually check that myself, but someone will pass that on to me, and then I'll get back to them.
Just via the webpage, you can send information in there or ask questions.
Yep, perfect.
Yep, cool. All right, we've done all right. I think we've done an hour and 20 minutes. That's not bad for Daz. He wanders off sometimes, and we find ourselves 2.5 hours later.
I never actually wander off. Just mentally, I just go elsewhere. Sometimes mentally, I'm not even here lately. Where I am.
We've noticed, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's good you are here, Daz. Good to see you back behind the mic. We'll have some egg cutting shows shortly. I've got one clutch less than a week away. Daz will have a few lurking there as well, I'm sure. So we'll be back for some egg cutting soon enough. But thanks for giving up your time tonight, Andy, and giving us the lowdown on the gel story and the Fuzzy Fox bloody stuffed toys come gel mix come pellet story.
Try some, people. Try some. It's fantastic. Your animals will love it, So, get into it.
Definitely. I like that idea too. I reckon that's brilliant. Just chuck in the water and the premix is already done.
That's it. Or do it all in the jar, all in the jar. It's so convenient. Yeah.
Just like the noodles. Fill it up with water and you're done.
And Aussie.
That's right. That's Australian made. Exactly.
Right. Well, thanks everyone for dropping in. Brent, if someone's looking for you, where can they find you, mate?
KHP Reptiles. Most people get me through Facebook or Brent Smith on Messenger. I do have the website as well, khpreptiles.com.au.
And pop your OnlyFans down there too.
Oh yes, they come at me from everywhere. So yeah, anyway, I'm always around. So I know we all get busy at times, but I try to get back to people as quick as we can. I do work. I have a business. I work 6 days a week on that. So the reptiles is meant to be a sideline, but it's kind of taken over the world. So we do what we can. What about you, Mr. Morelia by design?
Nowhere. I hide in the dark corners at the moment, but no, really by design on Facebook.
Not for long.
Instagram. Yeah, I am trying to get. I know I have messages sitting there that I need to respond to, so I will get onto that. I'm sorry, just sometimes it's hard to look at Facebook, and anyway. But I'll get onto that. So hit me up. Got questions? I will always answer. I will always get there. So just be patient with me, and I'll get there. So anyway. Beautiful. That's it. Thanks, Andy, for coming in. And
no worries.
This is just quickly before we go. This is something Brett and I have talked about doing for a while. So we do want to get more guests on in the future. We'll probably get through egg cutting season and then look at getting some other people to come on, share their time and knowledge, and projects they might be doing at home, no different to what Andy's doing. So keep that in mind. And we would love to get, as long as you keep a few snakes, you've got some variation and some stuff we can talk about. We'd like to get all sorts of people on. Doesn't have to be, people have been doing it for 20 odd years, like Andy. It can be people that have been doing it for 4 or 5 years, have 20 snakes, they've bred for the last couple of years, and they're still learning and want to share their experience. So we want to make a platform for everybody to try to come in and share their knowledge and experience. We'll learn something, and hopefully we can help some people on the way.
Perfect.
So
Daz just likes to talk to anybody. So if you listen, Daz will talk to you.
Yeah, well, the snakes don't talk back. So it's very, very lonely in my world. I've no one to talk to.
Oh, poor Daz.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Bye, guys.
Cheers, guys.